The 30-year is now about 3% finally. Now look back at the beginning of the year, about 2.69. Now it's about 3. Why are we concerned about interest rates?
Because once the market stable, the interest rates goes up. Is that
Mostly people think of that.
Because
People think our interest rates go up, market necessarily doesn't have to go down. But most people think, especially because we're at historic lows, right? Some of these interest rates have never been seen before. So why are we concerned?
the government has a lot of debt. If the interest rates go up, then haven't they been keeping interest rates down because there's so much debt on their
Part of
part?
that too is their debt would increase to other nations, because these are treasury bills, right? Treasury bonds. Okay.
Don't want the yield curve to invert.
Yield curve right now has been positive, but it's been positive for a while. It's upward sloping, which is always good. Do you think we should be so worried about interest rates? Or what would cause the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates? What do you think?
Inflation,
What kind of inflation?
consumer price inflation, so CPI index is what they say, consumer price inflation index.
That's what most people think. There's one kind of inflation they're really worried about. And it's not CPI. And it's not food, and it's not whatever. Wage inflation.
Wage,
Okay? People start making more money, that's good, right? When people start making more money, what happens to their purchasing habits? We'll pay more, we don't care, right? So the number one factor is they're concerned about wage inflation. We haven't had wage inflation in forever. So that's why the Federal Reserve hasn't really moved at all on interest rates. Once wage inflation starts to happen, which last month it did finally increase a decent amount, right? Creates competitiveness for employers. Because all of a sudden, what? There's a need for workers, right? Remember the old days when companies used to ask you or want you? Right? Well, that's been gone for a while, right? Is it coming back? I don't know. That's what they're worried about. You gotta get wage inflation. The more wage inflation we have, hopefully that drives the regular inflation up, and then that starts at lower interest rates. Right? Not much to be worried about yet with interest rates, but if you listen to the financial world's financial press, they'll tell you it's really horrible. What's it gonna do? Well, what are they gonna do? Here's what they're gonna do. First move is they're gonna take this and raise this by 25 basis points. Okay, that's 0.26% for 1 month yield. Okay. You know where we started from in 2007? Here's where we were at in 2007. Look at those interest rates. Remember what they told you in class about yield curve being what? Flat? Look at that yield curve. 479 for 1 month or 479 for 30 months? Didn't scare us in 2007, did it? See the big difference, right? We forget about that. How many years ago was that? 8 years ago? They started lowering rates in 2008. It's a long time ago. So just see that actually predicted, right? Started to invert a little bit, then became more inverted. Right now, nothing to worry about. Anything else going on in finance? No? Nothing? Nothing exciting? Nobody cares?
what's they normally say that there is a particular breaking point or particular figure when it touches, especially for the yield curve. After that, they normally decrease. So have those yield curves ever got beyond 5?
Yes. Oh, yeah. In the, in the 1970s, what was it? It was, short-term rates were like 20%. The yield curve was inverted. Because there was a ton of inflation. I think my parents in the 70s financed their first home at 14%.
You paid for what, probably like 20,000 for it?
Hmm?
You probably what, paid like 20,000 for it?
Yeah, and then 14% interest, though, right? Nowadays, 14% interest, oh my God. That's a credit card, right? Jeez. But there was a lot of inflation, so what did they have to do? Raise interest rates, right, to kill it. The gentleman who's Paul Volcker, very tall guy, kind of an advisor with President Obama, that's who was the Federal Reserve governor at that time. And everybody hated him because he kept raising rates.
Well, it's the Supreme Court, the pension thing in Illinois, right, that just got, so I just wondered what you thought.
If I was with the Illinois, I'd be worried about my pension. I really would. Not saying it's going to go away, but I don't know.
That's why I'm here right now.
Yeah, I know.
It didn't, well, and I don't know nothing.
No, go ahead.
The
No.
Supreme Court, Illinois Supreme Court say whatever whatever laws they pass, that they're unconstitutional. So, I mean, they have to do something tax-wise or something-wise, right? I mean, unless the whole state goes bankrupt or defaults on it, right? I don't know what.
Yeah, they can
It's the
default,
way
but
out.
then in theory, they'll feel that the states will be backed up by the federal government, which will make money for us. Isn't that great? But as far as the liabilities, just don't make any sense. I mean, they were promised, but everybody was living until 70, 65. Now people retire at 55, 60 from the government, and they live till 85.
Yeah, but the state of
No,
Illinois,
basically you gotta smoke and drink more, that's what you gotta do.
the state of Illinois didn't fund their end of the pensions.
Companies don't fund their own pension.
Well, yeah, but they were supposed to and they didn't, so that's why we have a problem.
Right. Just like Social Security. If they didn't take money from Social Security, we'd be okay.
But that doesn't make it any less unfair.
Oh, no, it doesn't, but I'm just saying, yeah, Unfortunately, we vote those people in too. Pensions, because of the voting power, will still be around, but I don't know what to extent they're gonna pay. Because those people vote. If those people didn't vote, then they wouldn't care. Because, I don't know, I'm gonna sound really bad right now, but they don't really care about you. They care about getting reelected, I mean, let's be honest.
I think they have stopped pensions for giving
Oh.
pensions for the newer.
If you're in a normal business, I mean, it has a certain date, they're like, okay, no more.
So like, for example, for her, like, she's already inside the.
You might be okay because you're inside, but guess what, new hire?
New hires, they don't give the pensions anymore.
Yeah, they put after a certain time, it was a couple of years ago, people who came in started being under what was called Tier 2 with reduced benefits.
Well, that's what happened, I'm from Detroit, so that's what happened with the automotive industry. All of a sudden, you got more people that are retired than are working for the UAW. United Auto Workers. How's that gonna work out? Probably not good. And we promised these people what? Not only pension, but full health care too.
And that money was not set aside from beginning.
It's Irish IOUs, though, it's fine. Oh, they went bankrupt, that's right. They're supposed to contribute, and if you look at the financial statements of any company, if they have a pension, you can find out what their unfunded liability is.
Unfunded liabilities.
For pensions, yep. Meaning they don't have enough on their balance sheet to back what they're supposed to get paid out.
if they don't fund the retirement fund, why they provide? They just say, okay, same like government, if they want to reform, just said, okay, you pay, both individual pay part or company or government pay part. Same like 401k.
Right.
It is contributed.
Oh, no, the
both
401k,
sides.
the 401k was contributed just because they wanted to give you control, not because they didn't want to pay a pension. They want to get the liability off their
Yes,
books.
if you know.
But they hope, they'll tell you now when you're 25, hey, guess what? You got a pension. By the time you're 65, 70, no. Or you get 10 years with the company, and they say, guess what? We're going to lock you right now, so you can't get any additional benefits. Mhm.
It's more like getting that particular work done.
My point is, simply just don't provide the pension.
Yeah, but then you don't.
Reform to change to 401k.
You look better though, as a company. You look like you care back in those days. But see, then too, think
Yes.
about the aging part of it too. Most people were dead by 70. You retire at 65, you're dead by 70, guess what? I only got to take care of you for 5 years. Now you stop smoking, you stop drinking, you're probably going to go into Whole Foods and buy good food. Now you're 85, 90. So I got to pay that liability for 25 years. It's a big difference. Given what people were doing back then, which is working in a factory with God knows what around them, they didn't care about the health, whatever. To nowadays, what do? We're on a computer in the office, right? We could live forever. And it is true. And some countries have trouble because they give government pensions too. Without you contributing, because Social Security you contribute. How to help Social Security a little bit is to raise the limit. I think it's $100 and something thousand. Well, that doesn't make sense anymore, right? Here's a 200.
The other thing is, in order to get employees at a lower wage, so that you have an employee retention program, but you tell them that you're going to pay higher pensions later on, so you make them stay with the company much longer until they can actually.
Yeah, nowadays take care of yourself, trust me. My uncle was not part of the UAW, but he worked for General Motors for 42 years, and his pension got cut in half when he went bankrupt. If he would have been union, he'd have been okay, but he wasn't union, so his pension got cut in half. He still lives okay, but Then my other uncle, who went from insurance job to insurance job, he's an IT person, he's got 3 different pensions. Because he wasn't loyal. He took care of himself. Huh? Well, if a promotion came, someone's going to offer me more money, guess what? I'm going to work there. And the companies say you don't have any loyalty to us, well, guess what? You don't either to me. You're not paying me a pension, guess what? Somebody's offering me $20,000 more. 5% of $20,000 is another amount my 401k, right? Take care of yourself. It's kind of the way it's become. Oh, I feel political. But it is true. Just look at our, it's changed everything, right? You guys change the way you look at business or work or whatever? What are you going to go with? Oh, we like you. Or, hey, we're going to offer you 20 grand. What did you say? $20,000. You're gone, right?
And we gotta pay bills.
And you got to pay your got to put money in that 401k for retirement one day, right?
Feed your family.
Will Social Security be around? Possibly. Well, you got to take care of yourself now, so why bother being loyal to the company? Be loyal to the company as long as they're paying you the most they can pay you. That's why when they ask me to do special things here, I say, well, what are you paying me? And they say nothing. They say, what? Can't pay you. A couple of my students, undergrads, are like, hey, you coming to graduation? I'm like, no. They're like, why? They're not paying me. Not that I don't love you guys, but I love you by they're paying me. All right, huh?
So should we ask for this or discuss for putting you guys in our resumes? Promotion, man.
Promotion, me? Here, I don't care about here. I care about teaching you guys. As far as the, anybody above me, it doesn't really matter to me. Who's the customer?
We are.
There you go.
Thank you.
The payer.
As long as you guys are happy. Administrators, I can always just walk by and wait and keep moving. So, capital structure. How much debt, how much equity do we have? We generally said the more debt we have, what?
The more things.
The more likely we're to incur maybe bankruptcy, financial risk will be heightened, right? Less debt, less financial risk, okay? I still have business risk, though, don't I? Mhm. Here's an opportunity. Now, they usually do these decision trees, which are okay to use. Show you how it works. So, initially, we're putting out $800. I got two chances. Best case scenario is $1,400. Worst case scenario is $900. Okay? They're 14 or 19, depending upon whether the economy is strong. Both scenarios are equally likely. If they're equally likely, then what? 50% of each, right? 50% chance I'm going to get $1,400 in cash flow. 50% chance I get $900. What do I hope happens? Take this. That gives me what? 700. Take that. 450. So if I were to come up with an expected return, $11.50, my expected return. Take the cash flows, multiply it by the chance of them happening. We'd like it better if it was skewed what? 75 on top and 25% on the bottom, right? But this said 50-50. Strong, weak economy. So, as a result, I demand a 10% risk premium over the current risk-free rate. So, what does that mean? Well, we call this the discount rate, which we use in what? The NPV formula, right? Yeah. So what is the net present value of this opportunity? Let's see. Let's show you how to do it in Excel. So, what's my initial? My initial 800, right? Negative. I know my expected is going to be 1150. So this is year 0, and this is year 1. So down here, do we'll go to formulas here, financial, and there's a net present value formula. Okay, my rate is 15%, and I only have one value. I just want to click on this one. For using the NPV formula, I only use the values after year 0. Okay. Why is that coming up gives me $1,000. Then, take the 800, add it to, let me do it this way, equals the negative 800, bring that down here, and then take the 1,000, add it to the 800. Do I do the project?
Yes.
Yep. If NPV is greater than 0 or even 0, sometimes I can do the project. Basically what I did is I took the formula and I used NPV. I could have just did 1150 divided by 1 plus 0.15 to the first power. Could do that for this one. If you have a lot of cash flows, it's much easier using this NPV formula. And NPV is positive for the project. One cash flow, it's not that complicated. Present value cash flows. If I take that $1,000, okay, I could raise 1,000 by selling equity in the firm after paying the investment cost of 800. I can keep the remaining 200 my return. Unlevered equity, equity in a firm with no debt. Can I go bankrupt in a firm that has no debt? I still have operating risk. Okay. Can a business fail because of operating risk? So I can still go bankrupt because I could have eaten up all the equity in the company, right? I don't owe anybody, but maybe we all contributed $50,000 to this business. We use that $50,000. What do we have now? We have nothing. Okay. We don't owe anybody anything, but we've lost all the equity. We've lost all the money we put in. Not really financial risk. We didn't lever up the firm. It was operating risk. Here's the returns. So, if I put in $1,000, strong economy, I get $1,400. Weak economy, I get $900. Strong economy is 40% return. Weak economy is a negative 10% return, right? If I put in 1,000, I make 900. Guess what? I lose 10%. I put in a 14,000, I make 1,400. I make $4,400 profit. So my shareholders' return, if there's a 50-50 chance of this happening, I take 1/2 times the 40, 1/2 times the 10. 15%. What would the NPV of this be? If my cost of capital is 15%, and yet my return is 15%, what would it be? Be 0, right? Do I do the project? Probably not unless it leads to something else. Will companies sometimes do a project that takes a loss?
Yes.
How do you think they can sell milk for $2.30 a gallon? You think they're making money off that?
Just
No,
get you in
trying to
the
get you in the
store.
door, right? Why should they buy all the other stuff? So if I borrow $500 now, what's going to change? Well, if it's a 5% interest rate, that means I'm going to owe $525 in 1 year. It's a 1-year loan. I'm going to owe the $25 worth of interest plus the $500. Equity, levered equity is equity in a firm that also has debt outstanding. As an equity holder, do you want the firm to have debt or no debt? Who can afford more risk? The bondholder or the equity holder? As an equity holder, I don't care if you lever it up. Because if things go well, what happens to my business? It goes really well. As a debt holder, the best I can do is what, in this case? $525. I don't make anything additional beyond that as a debt holder, right? So the debt holders are risk averse. Equity holders, hey, lever it up.
So it's like a credit card, they won't be using big minimum payments. So they can make
As yeah. Well, it's almost like an interest-only loan, like a balloon payment, right? Because if you borrow money 10 years with a bond, I don't have to pay the whole maturity back until when? 10 years from now. If things go well and I do it, what happens in 10 years? I refinance it again. We make an interest. And that interest is what, too? We'll discuss next chapter. So in theory, the perfect firm is what? Finance with all debt. We know that doesn't work. Why? Because eventually, once you reach a certain level of debt, what happens to your interest payments? They're not going to lend you any money, right? So, given the firm's debt obligation of $525, shareholders receive $875, and if the economy is strong, $375, if the economy is weak. So what happened to the amount I'm receiving?
So debt obligations are being addressed first.
Right. This is assuming that I got what? We got paid cash at the end of the year, maybe. I got $1,400, right? As an equity holder, what are we looking for? Are we looking for cash? What are we looking for from the company to make us money?
Increase stock price.
Say that?
Increase the stock price.
Make more money, net income, right? The more you make, the more I supposedly share in that income. Because as an equity holder, even if you don't pay me, I'm an owner in the business, right? Make more money, my share price goes up, I make more money. Okay? But I have to, this job, I have to pay the debt holders. If I can take, now this is assuming what? Even with that leveraged financing of $500, I didn't make any more money. If I'm going to take on debt, I should be making more money. Think about chains. Think about Best Buy, Circuit City, right? Think about how fast some of those chains expand. Well, how are they doing it? That can't be all internal cash flow, right? How fast does Chipotle expand? Right? Look at Chick-fil-A, right? Remember Chick-fil-A wasn't around here, now it's starting to pop up. Well, how are they doing that?
Borrowing.
Debt?
Cash.
Internal cash, maybe, if they have enough, right? But why use your money when you can use other people's money, right? That's like if you go to the lovely furniture store and you, oh, we have 0% financing down, right? 0%. A year from now, it'll be the same amount that you can just pay in a year from now. Why would I want to put my $1,500 in there, right? Pay for the furniture right now when I can use your money, right? Always use other people's money if you can. Okay. Initial value, $500 for debt. Equity. Number one rule of finance, use other people's money. The key with using other people's money is to make them people money, and then you'll get more money. Very circle. Strong economy, weak economy. Now look at the lever. Okay, 875 versus 375. What price E should the levered equity sell for? What should it sell for? Well, I got 500 debt and I got the firm is worth 1,000, therefore he should be 500, right?
624.
So I'm 50% financed with debt, 50% financed with equity. Debt, here's what they get back. Date 1 a year from now. Here's what I get back as an owner. What's the best capital structure choice for the entrepreneur? Go back a step. What do you think? All right, Amal, me and you go to the business, right? $500 each or $250 each? What would you rather put up? $250, right? Therefore, I have what? I might have more cash, but I don't have to put it in the business right away. Once again, using what? Other people's money if you can. Usually, a startup though, is pretty much all your own money and maybe some family money. Because the bank, they won't look at you too long. And anyway, okay. Okay, Mogilani Miller, perfect capital markets. Oh, perfect capital market. The total value of the firm should not depend on its capital structure. What should it depend upon? What do they say? Cash flows. How much cash are you making? Okay. What do we think that's true or false? As an equity holder, how do you know if a company's doing well?
The financial statements, the money.
Read a financial statement. Come on. Yeah.
Their stock price is increasing.
What's the first thing that you look at though?
Net income.
Stock price.
EPS, net income, earnings per share, right? Is that increasing? Good. Why? They're making more money. What should my stock be doing if they're making more money?
It should increase.
Hopefully going up. Okay? So if they're dependent upon cash flows, as long as those cash flows are being reinvested back in the business, with positive NPV projects, I should be making more money. Right? It shouldn't be based upon the structure of the firm. It should be based upon its cash flows. Is there a point where it is considered that the structure of the firm is bad?
Growth factor has been leveled out.
Think of Enron, think of Lehman Brothers, think of Bear Stearns, right? There's a certain place where you go, wait a minute, Lehman Brothers is financing their whole stuff every day overnight, financing? Okay, that's not good, I'm gone. If they're using normal financing, you're not going to sell McDonald's stock because McDonald's is using, what do we say, 55% debt and 45% equity. That's not your decision for McDonald's. What is it? How's McDonald's doing? Are they doing well? Well, McDonald's had a hard time in Europe, and in Japan their sales are down like 30 or 40%. That's what I'm concerned about. At some point, could McDonald's debt become a problem? Yeah, if it's 80% of the company, 80% of the structure, 90%, yeah. Right now, not a problem. Don't get started. At some point in the real world, we will consider the structure of the company. So if the value of the debt is 500, we said the equity should be 500, thus equaling $1,000 total for the firm. It's called the law of one price.
So,
Yes.
like McDonald's, where you got the McDonald's, I guess, corporation,
Yeah.
but the independent stores. are there-
Franchisees?
So the numbers that you see there, that's for the, how much money they collected from all their franchisees, right?
Plus their own stores, yep. McDonald's has a lot less of their own stores than pretty much any major chain. Burger King owns more of their stores,
Is that,
Wendy's owns more of their stores.
that does not include the other companies they have, like for all the, like the lettuce and tomatoes and meats, because they,
Unless they own them, no.
they-
No. Like we did mention last week that they own Chipotle at one point in time, then they would include Chipotle. But their suppliers, unless they own them, no. But see, as a franchisee, the best business is to be the owner of the franchise. Why?
just go ahead.
You pay me this a month. Are you making money?
Okay.
Hey, you want to remodel? Then guess what? You have to pay for it. Why? You're the franchisees. You have McDonald's have changed, right? Or anything? You want to pay for it? Who's paying for it? You're the franchisee, so what do you want to do?
You make the rules, right?
There are some things like the supplying stuff, no. But they like to keep them kind of uniform. That's kind of purpose of them, right? Is if we were to go down to where are those? South Carolina, you walk into McDonald's, you're like, okay, McDonald's, got it. Behind the scenes, a little bit, but the supplying of the food is pretty much, you don't have a choice in that. That's why they take you to Oak Brook over here, McDonald's, take you to the Hamburger University, you study there for at least a year before you're even allowed to think about being a franchisee. They put you through the university process. Hamburg University put that degree on the wall. How much do you think one of those franchises is worth, though?
How much money do you make through the work?
Anywhere from $600,000 to $700,000, just one.
Yeah, but you haven't got a ton of money back to be able to, at least to own them.
Yeah, I think they said 1 million.
And they got to trust you too.
Assets of 1 million.
And that's the bad part of being a franchisee is your name's on that building. We know so-and-so's a franchisee, but my name's on that building.
So when they sue somebody, they sue the store, they sue the owner, or they sue McDonald's Corporation?
Franchisee.
So
But who they really want to sue is McDonald's. Who's the franchisee going to try to get them to sue? McDonald's. Who's McDonald's going to get them to sue? Who has better attorneys? McDonald's.
Big dollars.
So it's,
Because the cash flows of levered equity is smaller than those of unlevered equity. Levered equity was sold for a lower price. Why? Because there's a little more risk involved. Leverage increases the risk of equity of a firm. You already said there. But if my risk is being increased as an equity holder, my reward better be increased as well. Okay? If I'm a debt holder, the best I can do is maturity plus interest. If I'm an equity holder, I'm hoping what? Huge upside potential, right? Oh, here we go. Date cash flows, date of returns. My expected return winds up being 15%, which exactly matches what my cost of cap was of 15%. Kind of a wash. Still levered equity, 40% or 10%. Expected return is 15. Notice the higher rate of expected return here. 25%. Why? Because there's now debt on the balance sheet. I should make more. Strong economy, I make 75%. Weak economy, I make negative 25. The more risk I take, the more reward I should receive, right? In theory. Risk and return, systematic risk. Systematic risk is market risk. Market risk is beta. Can we get away from market risk? Can we get away from unsystematic or non-market risk as an investor?
There is one constant risk factor.
Hmm?
There is one risk factor that is always constant, and then there is a variable risk factor. The constant risk factor, you cannot get away from it.
The market, the beta you can't get away from. The unsystematic risk, the non-market risk, we can get away from by investing in different types of companies. Okay? I don't want to, wait, airlines and an oil company. Is that diversified?
Because one affects the other.
In the opposite.
Opposite ways. Oil price goes up, better for the oil company, worse for the airlines. See what I'm getting into two different types of business? I want businesses that are not related.
So oil spill will take oil prices up.
It would supposedly hurt the airlines, but I'd make money on the oil side.
But you
You run it through, do it through a correlation function in Excel, and you can find out how correlated prices are.
okay.
But you're just trying to reduce your risk. The beta, the systematic risk, cannot reduce. Company-specific risk, you can reduce. Okay? Return sensitivity. Look at the risk premium difference. 10% versus unlevered, 20% versus levered. What are we doing here? Changing our delta R. R of the strong minus R of the weak. Two negatives positive, 50%. Levered equity, 100%. That's return is systematic risk, its risk premium is 0. Capital markets, 100% finance with equity. The equity holders will receive a 15% return. If it's 50-50, debt holders get a 5% return, while equity holders get a 25% return. Leverage increases risk of equity. Yep, I said that. So, what happens if the entrepreneur borrowed $200 instead of $500? Okay? How is that going to affect anything? So he owes $210 in 1 year from now. The economy, 1,400 minus 210, 1,190. 1,190 divided by 800, 48%, and 13.75%. Okay. What happens to my risk premium? It was 25% as an equity holder, now it's down to 12.5. So, the higher the debt, the more I borrow, the more the equity holders should receive in return. It's a direct correlation. Okay? I only borrowed what? 20% of my capital structure. My return is 12.5. When I borrowed 50% of the capital structure, what happened? I'm sorry, 17.5 my return would be. What happens when I did 50-50? It was 25%, right? Now, risk and return are not going to be point for point, but when you see higher risk, you should have a higher return. If not, then you're not efficiently managing the risk or the investing of the portfolio. Is it possible to gain more return with less risk? What happens if McDonald's, which has a beta of 0.76, over the next month gains 5%, and another company with a beta of 1.5%, or 1.5 beta, is a 1% return? Is it possible? Will that adjust itself?
Can you repeat the question?
Beta, right? 0.76, less than 1, versus a return of 5% for 1 month. Okay. Now I got a 1% return on a stock that has a beta of 1.5. In theory, if I'm using twice as much beta, I should have 2 times the return, right?
Good.
Is it possible?
Short term?
Hmm?
Would it be short term until the people start buying the stock and then the stock price goes up and then it's a wash?
The anomaly, use a big word, anomaly, will carry on for a little bit, but then people go, why am I buying something that I am risking with a beta of 1.5 when I can buy something with a beta of... So what'll happen? That'll push the price up. People will be pushing it higher and higher. The higher and higher you buy it, guess what? You're probably gonna maybe earn less return. Okay. Yeah, it'll be short term. How long will it last? But it can happen. Or the economy goes down. We head into a recession. Okay? All these stuff that requires a good economy, what happens to their stocks? Start to move down, right? What companies do well in a recession? Good old grocery store, right? They do well. You might not buy the high-priced products, but are you still going there? Yep. What about paper towels, toilet paper? Still hopefully brush your teeth, right? What are those called? Consumer staples. We need those every day, right? We might not be buying the tooth whitening toothpaste, but we're still buying some kind of toothpaste. So it can happen in a short period of time. Ooh, now we get up to 700. So now we're 300 equity, 700 we're borrowing. What should that do to the equity return? Increase or decrease it?
So you borrow
More
More
risk,
risk.
so it should.
Yes, we decrease.
Increase?
increase. Shouldn't increase.
Yep. Should be more than 25%, because 25% is what we returned when what? We were using 500. We were borrowing 50-50. Right? Okay. What does it look like now? 38.33%. The more we borrow, the more we're making. Also, we're taking on more risk. Correct? We're not considering a bad economy at all. We're considering your worst case scenario, you still get $900. Right? What would happen if, let's do an Excel real quick here. So what am I putting up here? I'm putting up $1,000, right? $1,000 negative out of my pocket. I have, okay. Let's say the economy changes. By the economy changing, what's going to happen to my numbers? My expectations are going to be lower. Maybe 1,200, and then maybe 700. So we'll say we'll use the same structures that we're using, what? 5%, right? There was a 50-50 chance of each one of these happening? Is that true? 4.5 here, 4.5 there. So what's my scenario expected return now? 950, right? Now, what would I do here? How much is being financed with equity and how much is being financed with debt? Let's use the 70%, right? So 700 debt and 300 equity.
70%.
So it's going to be 700 plus what? 5% interest rate, 25, right? So my debt is 725, right? That's what I'm going to owe you 1 year from now. that I'm looking for. So if I take the 1,200 and subtract,
So wouldn't it be 735?
what is it, 7 times 1.05, right? 1.05. Yep, 735. Even looks worse now. 735. 735. So my worst case, look at that. What's happening? What happened to my equity? This is my results from the equity now, right? Do I have one part where I'm losing money? How much am I putting up in equity?
It's 30% for equity.
Okay, so I'm putting up 300 in equity, right?
Yes.
So, what would my return be on the top side? And that's the top scenario.
Maybe 465.
Divided by,
So 165, that is 300 minus 465 minus 300 divided by 300.
so if I take the 465, put this over here, this is my, put it this way. Make it this way. We'll call this my cash flow, right? Then this will be the equity here. So we'll take the 300, right?
You can see
Equals the 165 minus the 300 divided by what?
divided by 300.
Say that again?
Divided by 300.
That should be my return, right?
No, divided by.
Divide that. 55%? Does that follow in line? What about this?
Same thing. Minus,
300 again, right?
no, minus, yeah, yes.
Like this here. Does that look good? I've got a scenario. We're doing what? So notice this can change. My debt didn't change. My borrowing didn't change. What changed here? This is my expectations, right? That's changed. It was what before?
1400.
And what on the bottom side? 900?
900.
Now it's changed to 12 and 17.
That's almost 20% change.
Leverage can be good when my expectations are high. When my expectations are low, leverage can be bad. The problem is when do we want to borrow money? Or when do we need to borrow money?
Cash flow?
When times are bad. Are they going to lend to us when times are bad?
No.
No.
That's the problem. When times are good, guess what?
Everybody's.
Hey, you get a no money, right? Interest-only mortgage, no problem. Law of one price, the leverage will not affect the total value of the firm. Changes the allocation of cash, right? The more debt you hold, the more is allocated to debt holders than to equity holders. Imperfect capital market is equal to the market value of total cash flows its assets, not its choice in capital structure. Homemade leverage. Can investors, can I use leverage in my own portfolio? How do I do it? Find companies that have a high, what, debt-to-equity ratio. Okay? When the economy's good, what should I be investing in? High debt-to-equity or low debt-to-equity companies?
High debt.
Here's the question. What about beta?
Higher the beta, better the results.
I want high beta, high debt. Okay? When the market, you think the market is going to recession, you want low beta, low debt. Make sense? Okay. So we can use no leverage to be an all-equity firm. Here, oh, margin. Yep, I can use margin. What is margin? It's a loan I can borrow from the brokerage. Are they going to charge me interest? I pay there. The bigger the customer I am, the less interest I get charged. They even talk to you differently. It's amazing. When I call for my client, I get sir. If it's me calling, it's yeah, whatever. So, leverage. This is 5% though. Here's my margin loan. Strong economy, weak economy. My levered equity, take the unlevered equity, add it to the margin loan. What happens? 875 and 375. For stock margin, I can borrow 50% of the purchase price. Okay? Like I said, the bigger your account, the better your interest rates will be. So, margin loan, I'm owing them $525, but look at $1,400, $1,900. I'm still what, in an optimistic scenario, right? Where is this flowing to? All to the equity holders, right? Who's this going to? The debt holder or the margin. Going to the brokerage. If I have no debt and I'm hold unlevered equity, here's how it would work. So what's more risky? The margin loan or this?
Margin loan?
Back 2 steps. Look at my firm, the margin loan. The margin loan is on top of my what? $1,000 worth of equity. This is what? Half and half, right? What's more risky? The margin loan. Who will do better in a good economy? This type of structure or the margin loan? Margin loan. Why? Margin loan is more risky.
I think that the margin loan, it doesn't have your income, your money. You just have.
Well, I'm using my 1,000 in equity, and on top of it, I'm adding a margin loan. In this case, I'm doing 50-50 debt and equity. So the margin loan makes it more risky. Homemade leverage.
So that would increase the beta of that particular stock.
Yes. Increases my risk too. Increases my risk too, as the owner of that stock, right? If I'm using leverage to purchase the stock, I got to make money on the stock that's greater than what?
The interest.
The amount I purchased it for, plus the interest on the margin loan. Hey, if I do great, I do real good.